My name is Jason Martinez, and this is part 2 in a little Palmas series I put together. Now, in the previous video, which has got quite a few hits lately, we talked about the difference between sordas and claras and soniquete, which is swing. So in flamenco, as I had mentioned in the other video, you really have to have swing for there to be any real music happening. Flatline kind of rhythm, as in something you might see or hear with a metronome or a drum machine, doesn't have really dynamic. It's just beats played over and over with maybe one accented beat on the one. But what we want to do is create dynamic ebb and flow in our palmas. So whereas we did tangos, which is a 4-count rhythm in the first video, today I want to work on bulerias, which is in 6s. You might hear that bulerias is in 12s, and that's correct as well. I mean, if you just think about the math of it, it all makes sense. But the reason I teach it in 6s is because most of the time when people are phrasing buleria, even if they're doing a 12-count session, the 6s are the things that are, it's kind of broken up into 6s. In my video study, I talk about 6s that rise and 6s that fall. But today I just want to talk about how to just create a 6 that swings, just a general 6-count cycle. So like it's basically what we're going to do is just like what we did in the tangos video, but you're going to add 2 more beats. And those 2 more beats don't have to be overly accented. They're actually just kind of trailing off at the end to some degree. Then actually we're going to take those same beats out, and they'll just be implied in the rhythm. Which takes a little bit more keeping track of the rhythm in your head, but with enough practice, it's not that difficult. So when we're talking about a 6-count rhythm, just like in the tangos, we mark 1 with our foot, and it doesn't have to be a crazy loud sound. It can just be nice and mellow. And with our palmas, we're hitting 6 beats, but we're really accenting once again on the 2 and the 4. So if I'm doing 1 here, and that was 2 and 4 just like tangos, but then we add 2 beats. So it goes like this. Now that last 6 can be accented a little bit more than some of your subdued beats, but what you don't want to do is just go because then it gets to sounding like 2s. It just sounds like you're going. Which is not quite right. You want it to have like a peak and then a drop off in your 6. So you want a peak on the 4, and you want it to drop off on 5 and 6. So in other words, we're going 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now this is done pretty simple and pretty slow. If you did it up to speed, more likely it would be about now. In the last video when I talked about how you can imply beats, well, let's actually put that into practice in this little study. So the 5-6 you can take out altogether, so that you're just going. But you notice you have to keep track of those last 2 beats in your head. So if I was counting it without actually marking 5-6 again, I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Okay? Now that's what we call in flamenco silencio, or silence, and it's very important because what it does is gives room, it gives space for guitarists, for singers, for dancers to communicate. It's as though you were talking to somebody and they won't stop talking, they just keep talking at you. Well, that's what palmas are like without silencio. That's what flamenco music is like without silencio. It's like you never get a chance to get a word in. And everybody in the cuadro, or the group, needs to get a word in. It's why it's fun for everybody to do. So you really want to work on silencio. Now, Silencio doesn't have to be literal silence. It can be just barely playing, like we were doing in the beginning where we were hitting 5/6. See, I'm still hitting them, but they're not very loud. So it still opens up the compás, and that's really what you want. Now, there's little variations you can do. For example, you can put in extra beats at the beginning, so you can go. But still, 2 and 4 are very important. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that's a nice little extra variation you can do. Now, when it's fast, it's harder to do. But depending on who you have with you, they can create those sounds by doing contratiempos, which is a different thing altogether. So just work on those bulerias palmas, remember them in 6s. Somebody comes and tells you no, they're in 12s. Don't need to get an argument about it, because you put 2 6s together, you have a 12. So a 12 count session would just sound like 2 6s, like the following. Easy enough. So practice and come visit our website at www.tucsoniquete.com. We offer instructional videos for cajon, palmas, and baile now. So come check us out.